Hey guys, I'm going to talk to you about why when you're feeling depressed or upset, why you shouldn't isolate yourself from people. When you're down, when you're feeling upset, the last thing you want to do is get up and go around. What you want to do is you want to sit, lie down just in the dark room, watching videos and listening to music and just, I don't know, just giving up, so to say. You're tired of it, you're done with it, and you're going to ignore all of it. But that's unhealthy. I'm not saying you shouldn't have alone time, but it's the way you go about it. When you have alone time, the idea is for you to think, for you to gather your thoughts and come up with an idea, correct? That's one of the benefits of being by yourself. You got time to think. But if you're feeling depressed and sad and upset, your thought isn't going to be new. When you're by yourself and you're giving yourself the same advice because that's all you can do, because you're the one who's feeling this. And you can't change the way you're feeling to change the advice you give yourself. So you're just going to be in this loop, this dark loop, and it's going to last forever, and it's going to be terrible. And you're going to start feeling terrible. It might even make things worse, because you won't see a way out. What you want to do is you want to talk to someone who has a completely different perspective. You want another side that you wouldn't want to either approach yourself or you wouldn't approach it in the first place. I'm not saying there's not time to sit alone in the dark, watch a sad movie, maybe listen to some music. If you're feeling upset, maybe that's what you gotta do. Maybe you gotta grieve. That's cool. Depending on the situation, that's totally fine. But when you're in a situation where you feel like life's getting too hectic and you're being overwhelmed and you're getting very upset, you're starting to feel confused, you're starting to not feel good, and you're getting low, the last thing you want to do is hide with those feelings, because they're not going away and you're not getting any new ones towards you. It all comes down to how you spend your time alone. Instead of sitting in a dark basement, watching movies, listening to music, go for a walk. Sit outside. Remind yourself that the world's a bigger, more complex, beautiful place than you could ever know. Despite how black and white things may feel, that's only from your perspective. From somebody else's perspective, there's a whole new option, whole new choice. And ideally, when you're sitting alone and your ideas haven't worked out, what you want to do is get a new, fresh idea, a new way to tackle the situation. And how you achieve that is by having an open mind and by giving a new thought a chance. I've always said, if you come to a problem positively, your mind will work better and you'll find a better way to deal with it. Or at least you give yourself a better chance to fix the situation yourself. And that also reminds me, you may think that time will fix things. This is true to an extent. See, situations will change. But if you're still thinking about the problem in the same way, you run into the same problem. Or you'll interpret the changing of the situation to something even worse, or just as equally as bad, because you're coming at it the exact same way. Not all of us have the luxury of hanging out with friends, trying to forget what our situation was. Some of us try to resort to drowning it out with some sort of pleasure, something that gives us a little outing that lets us forget about our situation. But you've heard this before. When you do that, you're just going to come back to your problems. For example, you can lock yourself in your basement, your room. You can game, you can sleep, you can eat, drink, do drugs, I don't know, whatever you resort to, you can do that. But you'll come back to the problem the exact same. The problem won't have changed. You wouldn't have changed. And in many cases, you'll feel bad about yourself. Because you know what you did was unhealthy. And even though you've had that hour, minute of forgetting, of being in a whole new place, a whole new train of thought, your problem will come back right at you. And you know what? The second time you want to find that pleasure, it's not going to be as easy. Because you'll know that it doesn't work as well. Maybe you thought it would work brilliantly the first time, but then you came back right to your problem, and now when you go back at it again, well, you know that it won't work as well. So what do? You do more. You increase it. So you try to match the original feeling. And you don't just increase it a little bit. No, you gotta really push the envelope. We all have our bad days. And when they keep occurring the exact same, we interpret that as a bad week, and then a bad month, and then bad months, then a bad year. And then we can interpret it as a bad life. And that could very well happen if your thinking is the exact same. If you're looking at it at the exact same, with the exact same eyes, no fresh ideas, terrible thoughts. Humans are very smart. And they can come up with so many ways to analyze something. And when you're passionate about analyzing something, you'd be surprised what you can achieve. And when you're feeling depressed, you will be able to find the worst thing in every situation, and that's what you'll see. I'm not saying your situation won't have changed. I'm not saying you still would be in a terrible situation. What I'm trying to say is, you need to go about it in a different way, because if the situation can't change, then you have to change. You have to adapt. And you'd be surprised what can happen when you come at a problem with a completely new perspective. And it's not hard to get a new perspective, but it's hard to get a new perspective when you're by yourself. And when I say you're by yourself, I really mean you're by yourself. Even if you're hanging out with a friend, you can still be by yourself. You can still be by yourself and thinking. If you don't talk to them, you'll still have the same ideas when they leave, but it helps. Yeah, it helps. A lot of problems have been solved by people watching, whether it be people or animals or just the way the world works. New ideas come into their head that they never thought about because they're not the type of person who would have done it that way. That's my thoughts, anyways. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. But I like to think that I'm trying to work out a solution rather than sitting in the problem. And if you have a better idea, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure someone who's going through a terrible, tough time would love to hear it. And thanks for watching. I hope I was able to do something.